Over the last 1 week, Ashok Gehlot and Sachin Pilot have been in the news a lot, and not for great reasons. Now, you've probably seen this on your timeline, that the government in Rajasthan might collapse, and that MLAs might get disqualified, and they're actually sitting at the governor's house on the lawns doing a dharna. Well, here is your total lowdown on everything that's happened in Rajasthan. While I tell you what's happened so far, we'll also attempt to answer some questions. Questions like, is that government actually going to fall? Was the BJP behind that rebellion? Is there still any room for a reconciliation between Gehlot and Sachin Pilot? And finally, what kind of permanent damage is this likely to do to the Congress party on the national level? Now, the whole story started on the 10th of July, when Ashok Gehlot made a public accusation that the BJP was trying to topple his government by offering to buy MLAs for crores and crores of rupees. Now, this is not an accusation that the BJP is hearing for the first time from a chief minister. This was an accusation that Kumaraswamy of Karnataka had made, and then again Kamal Nath of Madhya Pradesh had made. But this time, the BJP denied the allegation and also pointed out that Ashok Gehlot should look inside his party for trouble instead of outside. At this point, people began to notice that Deputy Chief Minister Sachin Pilot was not to be found in Rajasthan. Reports in the media then surfaced that Pilot and at least 12 of his loyalists were in fact in Delhi and were not reachable. Now, repeated attempts from both the state and the central powers of the Congress to reach Sachin Pilot were futile. And that's when the Congress knew they were in trouble. The Congress then rushed its senior leaders, Randeep Surjewala, Ajay Maken and Avinash Pandey, to Jaipur to do damage control. The next morning, Ashok Gehlot held a series of meetings, and then in a press conference, the Congress claimed that it had the support of 109 MLAs on paper. Remember, the halfway mark at this point is 101. So this was a comfortable majority. With that comfort, the Congress then called for 2 meetings, on the 13th and the 14th, and issued a whip to Sachin Pilot and the remaining MLAs to attend these meetings. Sachin Pilot refused to attend those meetings. Let's take a minute to figure out what a whip is. Now, back in 1985, when Rajiv Gandhi was Prime Minister, there were many cases of MLAs switching sides because of allegedly being offered money by the other side. One particular case was of a Haryana politician called Gaya Lal, who had actually switched sides 3 times in 24 hours, prompting the phrase Ayaram Gayaram for those politicians who switch sides. Now, to prevent this sort of corruption-led switching of sides, a new law was written by the Rajiv Gandhi government. It was called the 10th Schedule of the Constitution, or more commonly known as the Anti-Defection Law. Now, according to this law, if a member of a state assembly, an MLA or an MP, switch parties or vote against their party or abstain from voting or coming to the house when they're called, they can be disqualified. And the person giving them those instructions is the party whip. The party whip is a senior politician who's elected to the house, who's given the responsibility of maintaining discipline of all of the members and making sure the members follow the party line. Now, if a member disobeys the party whip, that person can be disqualified. And once they're disqualified by the speaker, they can't hold any ministries unless they are re-elected at a by-election back to that same seat. There's only one exception. The exception is if the person who is disobeying has 2/3 of the party elected strength with him or her, then it's no longer illegal. In this case, Sachin Pilot has 18 members with him. Counting him, that's 19. It doesn't add up to 2/3. So the Congress then approached the speaker with a complaint that he be disqualified along with the rest of his loyalists. The speaker then sent notices to the missing MLAs in order to disqualify them. Sachin Pilot approached the Rajasthan High Court, arguing that the speaker cannot disqualify him and the rest of his associates because fundamentally the House is not in session and the anti-defection law doesn't apply. The speaker went to the Supreme Court against the High Court hearing, basically saying that the High Court cannot interfere in matters that are before the speaker because the House, when it is in session, doesn't come under the judiciary. The Supreme Court did not intervene, but it did say that it wants to do a longer hearing on this matter because it will have implications on other state governments. Now, the Supreme Court will start its hearing on Monday. But in the meantime, the High Court has said that the Speaker cannot disqualify any of these MLAs until after the Supreme Court hearing is over. So this is limited sort of relief for Sachin Pilot and the rest of his associates. So why is Gehlot insisting that the House be called into session? That's where the whole story lies. Remember, Sachin Pilot had argued in the Rajasthan High Court that for as long as the House is not in session, he can't be disqualified. Well, if the House is in session, technically that argument no longer stands. Plus, we have to consider that if the House is called in session and the Congress issues a whip to Sachin Pilot and the others, they don't have too many choices on the table. If they don't show up and they abstain, they get disqualified. If they do show up and they vote against their party, they get disqualified, but their vote gets counted first. And that actually then takes us to the numbers. So let's take a look at the numbers. Now, the Rajasthan government is a 200-seat assembly. The Congress won 107, after which the BSP merged its 6 MLAs in the state with the Congress, giving it an extra 6. It has the support of additional parties, the Tribal Party, the CPIM, the RLD, and 12 other MLAs, taking the total number up to 124. That's comfortably past the halfway mark of 100 and 101. The BJP, on the other hand, has 72 MLAs along with the support of 3 others. Remember, Sachin Pilot and his associates are now 19 of those MLAs. So right now, out of this 200, if the Speaker were in fact going to disqualify, was able to disqualify these 19 MLAs, it would bring the total number down to 181. And the halfway mark would now be 90 or 91. The Congress, though, with its 6 BSP MLAs, would now be at 94. And that's comfortably across that halfway mark, which is why generally Ashok Gehlot tried very hard to disqualify these MLAs. And now remember, if they do get disqualified, they have to run an election, fight an election for those seats, and they can't be made ministers in any other government if they were to join the BJP or anybody else. Now, in a second scenario, if Sachin Pilot and his associates do come to the session and they do vote, their vote will be counted. And if they vote against Ashok Gehlot, they will be disqualified, but first their vote will be counted. Now, if those votes are counted and the halfway mark is still 100, remember the Congress here with this extra 6 MLAs at 94 will be short of that halfway mark, and then it will depend on who gets to hold on to the independents and the extra parties. And that will really be a bit of a difficult place for the Congress to be in, which is why they have been insisting that Sachin Pilot and his associates get disqualified before they have an opportunity to come to the House and vote. Now, in a change of strategy, Ashok Gehlot is insisting that they be a floor test. This means that he might be confident, and they've used the last couple of days to shore up all of the support that they need, and he feels confident that he has all the numbers that he needs in case there is a floor test. So that brings us to the last question. What sort of damage, if at all, is this likely to do to the Congress party on a national level, irrespective of how things turn out in Rajasthan? Well, we must remember that Pilot and Scindia were considered the future of the Congress party. They were young, they spoke English, they sort of appealed to a younger audience of voters who are very important given the way our demographic is structured. So it might be possible going forward that the Congress will have difficulty appealing to that younger audience. On a second point, the fact that the Congress has not exactly showed ability to manage its own party in the last 1 year. Remember, Sonia Gandhi is still the interim leader of the party. They haven't found a replacement for her. It's going to be a year very soon. The Congress's ability for administration of its own party has been dented again. And so for it to sort of prove itself or position itself with the ability to run the country is going to be a little more difficult. And if Sachin Pilot doesn't join the BJP and happens to decide to form his own regional party, it's going to cut the votes of the Congress one more time. And remember, wherever the Congress has come across a third contender other than the BJP, like in Maharashtra or in Delhi with the Aam Aadmi Party or Bengal with Mamata Banerjee, they have displayed an inability to form election-winning alliances and invariably found their votes cut in half. Finally, where does that leave us as citizens and voters? Now, if Sachin Pilot joins the BJP, then that's a different argument and that's a different question to answer. But if he forms a regional party, that I believe personally is good for democracy. It's good for voters to have multiple options. It gives you more than just this or that option when you go into an election. Also, remember the regional parties that I talked about have actually given their state more representation. However you want to agree or disagree with their politics, it has given that respective state a larger say in national politics, just like Jayalalitha did in the past. So regional parties do bring a stronger say to their state on national matters. And it does make politics more efficient for voters who have more options when they go to the polls. Well, Rajasthan might just be another story after Karnataka and Madhya Pradesh. It's all politics at the end of the day. But we must constantly remind our leaders that we're in the middle of a pandemic. The economy is in shambles. Rajasthan particularly is being attacked by locusts. The farmers are really struggling. At this point, they need to quickly wrap this up, and they need a government in place to actually administer, which is fundamentally the job more needed now than ever before.